everybody, it's Oksana, and today I'm going to show you how to make this pendant here. It is a bead pendant. Here's what the back of it looks like. So if you want to see how to make this, just keep watching. So the first thing you're going to need is 2 pieces of 20 gauge wire. Mine is copper round dead soft wire. So you want to take one of these wires and you want to bend them in half. Or bend it in half, I should say. And to do so, you can use your pliers to get a nice sharp point. And then once you have that, you can go ahead and open them back up. And you can go ahead and line your other wire, kind of just bend it a little bit, and line it up so that it goes underneath. So the wire with the point is on top and your other wire is underneath. Now we're going to get some weaving wire, round dead soft copper, 26 gauge. You can use 28 gauge as well. From Monster Slayer. And what you want to do is you want to start weaving a pattern roughly as far from this point as is the size, or like half, of your bead. So like the height of your bead, basically. So a nice thing to do is to leave yourself a nice long tail so that if it ends up being a little short, you can always weave a tiny bit more. But for this part, I just eyeball and I start somewhere that's, close to being the height of my bead, maybe even a little taller. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wrap around the bottom wire 4 times, and then I'm going to wrap around both wires twice. So 1 and 2. Might be easier to just kind of bend the end so you can get in there quicker. And you don't have to do this exact pattern. You can do whatever pattern you prefer. That's a 2-wire pattern. So 4 around the bottom, 2 around both is the pattern that I'm going to be doing here. And then here is what it looks like up close. And you want to just keep going. I'll show you guys when I get to this point. That's obviously going to mess up your pattern a little bit. So the only difference when you get to this point is that you can't do the 2 wraps around both where the point is. So right here I've had to make 8 wraps around the bottom wire instead of the regular 4 wraps. So just, it might be a different number for you, just to see kind of how it goes, just so it's all even. So I'm just gonna continue with my pattern now that I'm past this little point here. This is my bead that I'm going to be using. So it is 19 millimeters or so, almost 2 centimeters. And then here's inches, 3/4 of an inch. I mean, just so you have a reference, you can obviously use any shape and size. You don't have to use it like mine, but if your bead happens to be the same size and it's helpful for you to know, I made 10 of these patterns on each side. So if I count just the part where it's 2, around both, like 1, 2, 3, then it's 10 and 10. That seems to be a good height. I'll check in a second once I bend it more. But basically, once you have this, you want to start bending it in the same shape as your cabochon, so kind of an oval shape in my case. And you want the 4 of these wires to meet up. So you want to start bending them so they don't, crisscross over. You want to start bending them kind of away from each other and then towards each other. Like this. And then here is where you want to check your beads. So this is very snug. That means I need to weave a little more, because if I close this up and start weaving around all 4 of these wires, my bead is like not really gonna fit. So what I'm gonna do, that's why I left a little tail, is I'm gonna do 2 more repetitions of this pattern on each side, so for a total of 12 repetitions of this pattern on each side, and then I will go ahead, you know, close that back up. Alright, so that is much better. There's some room there around my bead. So what you want to do now is line up these 4 wires and weave around the 4 of them. So you can do, you know, whatever pattern you want. I'm just going to do a simple one where I go twice around the top 2 wires. Oops. Twice around the next 2. So the middle 2 in this case. Twice around the bottom 2. And then I'm just going to go back up. Twice around the middle 2. Twice around the top 2. So that's the pattern. It kind of looks like a little, gonna look like little zigzags just going up and down, up and down. So what you want to do is weave this pattern for a little bit. This is going to be your bail. So weave it high enough where you can, you know, turn it, bend it around something, and it'll form your bail, depending on if you want like a really tall bail or just a short little bail. You know, weave for your preference height. And I always like to finish by wrapping a few times around a single wire. I'm going to do one of these middle 2 before I trim off my weaving wire and pinch down that little end of it so it is not sharp. And now you want to take some bail making pliers or some round nose pliers and go ahead and, actually I'm going to use this slightly larger one here, make that bend. Go ahead and make your bail. So I'm just taking these wires, pushing them out of the way so I can close out my bail like this. And what you want to do now is you should have 4 wires here in the back. Take the ones that are on the sides, so these 2, and open them up like this, move them to the side. And then these 2 in the middle that are left, go ahead and take them and take some pliers and hold them and twist them together. Just like a little twist. Hold on, that did not come out how I wanted it to be. There we go. This isn't really necessary. I just kind of was hoping to line them up better that way so there isn't like a big gap between them. So there's almost like one going straight down and then the second one is kind of like on top here. Alright, so now we're going to take our bead, figure out the orientation here. Alright, I think this way. Go ahead and slide your bead on onto this wire here, the one that's, you know, closest. And depending on your spacing here, I mean, it's pretty difficult to get it where there's literally like no space at all between the top here and the bottom, because the top here is kind of going to go up. So there's going to be that little space there because your bead, you know, doesn't go up to a point. It's oval. But then here on the bottom, there probably will be a little space here. And a fun thing to do, and you don't have to do this, but you can put just a little bead on there, a little copper bead. Like that. And what I want to do now is I want to get this wire to the front. So what I'm going to do is just going to bend it, push it to the front, pull it out, and then put it right back in, right into this little gap. Like that. So I'm going to take my pliers now. I'm just going to bend it, and I'm just going to pinch it down a little bit, so especially that copper bead, you know, so it stays there and doesn't slide down. I'm just kind of lining everything up. And then here as well, you want to push that towards the front so that your bead is kind of lined up nicely. All right, so here we have that. Now this wire here, you want to line it up so that you can't really see it from the front, and then take this other wire and we're just gonna kind of cross them over each other like this. And I'm gonna trim them. And then take some round nose pliers and just close up those loops. So this is the back. And this is the front. So here in the front, these two wires that we have, we're basically just going to be making decorations with them. And there's so many different ways you can do this. So just go ahead and play around with different ideas. So I just randomly do stuff. So for example, one thing you can do is you can cross these wires. I'm just going to use my pliers here to get a nice even crisscross here. You can cross them in the front. You don't have to do that. You can just have them coming out of each side, but you could cross them like this in the front for decoration, and then take each wire and put it around like this, around this, you know, side weave that we have going on. So like that. You just have to be symmetrical. Just try to do it, you know, in the same location, roughly. And you can use your pliers to get it, you know, closer. Kind of pinch it down a little bit. Like that. All right. And now we just keep going. So another way you can decorate is you can make a little loop. So whatever you do on one side, you just want to do it on the other side, unless you don't want it to be symmetrical. So with the loops, you just gotta get them similar looking, similar size. So now that I have my loop here, I'm gonna have this wire come in around the back and just kind of around and back to the front. So I'm going to do it on this side as well. And you can help yourself with placement by counting these little, you know, patterns in our weave, so that your wire is like on the same point on each side if you wanted to do that. Or you can just eyeball it, which is my favorite way to do things. Alright, So now we have these wires coming out, and you can do another little loop. Like that. And now we just have to end these wires and secure them. So I'm just going to put them to the back to the front. This is just a very free-flowing kind of thing. Whatever happens, happens. You can put more beads on there if you want. Alright, so here they are. And you can either cut this and just close it up, almost like a closed loop, or you can cut it so that you have a little end that you can curl. I'm going to do here, I'm going to take my roundless pliers and I'm going to squish this end. Again, optional, just make whatever loop you like to do. This lately has been something that I've enjoyed. Squishing down that part so that when you make your loop, it's almost like it just lines up nicely because your wire is flatter there, like I kind of flattened it down. I mean, I don't know how noticeable that is to you, but there's one little loop, and I'm just going to do the same exact thing on this side. Now you can take your regular pliers if you're interested in my different tools that I'm using. I have a video on all my tools. I think it's just called like wire wrapping tools. And that's it. Just pinch them down a little bit. And we are done. Here it is from the front, from the back. If you wanted to add a little more to the front here, like I know this part here, you may be interested in covering that up where the wire goes into the bead. So if you want to do that, what you can do is just take another little copper bead and just take a little piece of your weaving wire again, just the same 26 gauge wire. And I'm putting one end on one side and the other end on the other side of that wire that's going through the bead, and pulling them all so that, oh, you don't want to loop. So these wires kind of go in the back. And there you go. Now there's a little bead at the front and it just kind of covers all that up. And what you can do with these little ends is just go ahead and wrap them around this wire here. If you just do a few wraps, it'll stay secure, and then you'll be able to just trim it off. So I'm just wrapping each end just a few times around this wire here that's going down the center. Alright, now I'm just going to do the other one. And the little beads I got, I get those from Monster Slayer or Rio Grande. I've gotten them from both, so I'm not sure which this exact little copper beads that are in this piece where they're from, because they all look the same. But Monster Slayer or Rio Grande will both have just solid copper little beads for you. So now just trimming that weaving wire and taking my pliers and just finishing up those little ends there, just pinching them down. They don't get in the way. So here is my final piece. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.